Jin Yucheng's novel Flowers Text Chapter 5, 1. Back then, a Bao often went to Weimin on Weihai Road to look at stamps. It's lively on Sundays. Everyone walks around with stamp albums in hand, and you can directly ask each other if there are any stamps. The other party looked at it up and down, handed over the book, and flipped through it casually. Be careful. Bring your own magnifying glass and stamp tweezers. Clip a stamp and see if there are old stains or tears on the back, the glue version, or the fresh bottom plate, if the stamp has all the teeth or is missing. If you find something interesting, open your own stamp album, referring to one or several stamps, saying, swap it. The other party agrees and presents it respectfully, allowing people to look at it horizontally and vertically, choose one or a few, and finally make a deal. If you don't agree to the exchange, you can make an offer or bargain. Such private transactions are basically divided by age. For elementary school students and children with snotty noses, the book and tickets in their hands are usually fluffy on all sides, and the ticket area is stained, like a wild girl's head and neck, and clear, and happy and dirty. When children open a stamp album, they usually see a 5-clawed golden dragon. They poke their fingers directly onto the face of the stamp, drag it forward and backward, move it round, insert it in and out, regardless of the appearance details. When I enter junior high school, I start to understand, and my actions become clearer. When I get a little older, I will open the stamp album and see the universe in the book. It can be said that the mountains are green and the water is green, and the eyes are clear. Therefore, if the two parties have different ages, identities, looks, and hygiene, and belong to different people, if they ask to see the stamps, they usually respond by rolling their eyes and ignoring them. In this kind of place, there are scalpers wandering around, holding a few envelopes and a whole set of stamps, folded in cellophane, one package with one price, some expensive and some cheap. They rely on verbal conversation. It is easy not to reveal their stuff, and they only rely on their good tongue. The whole bag is stuffed with foreskin stuffed, and sold as savage heads. The class distinction among stamp collectors is so clear. At this stage, Po only had ordinary stamps. His brother from Hong Kong sent him a few cancelled stamps, including a small stamp album produced in the UK. It was made of imitation crocodile skin and black lacquer. It looks good when you hold it in your hand. Every time a Bao brought it out, there were scattered general votes from small countries, such as San Marino and Liechtenstein, including blue and gray general votes from the early Republic of China, which made the children salivate. There is also a separate stamp with a vague postmark from the early Republic of China, which adults think is not worth a few cents. In the early days of New China, I brought all the scattered stamps with a face value of 1,000 yuan every time. The purpose was to use these stamps to exchange for Bao's favorite plants and flowers. Of course, there are countless varieties of this kind, such as the number of sands in the Ganges River. Even if Po tries his best to collect, his money will always be tight and his money will be shabby. He can only look away and sigh. Even if he takes a look at the high-end collection in the store, as a middle school student, he lacks opportunities. It is usually impossible for collectors of this age group to enter Weimin and Huawei, another private philatelic shop diagonally opposite the Sinan post office. These two shops are an adult world, with bright windows and clean windows. The boss only accepts one or two respectable old customers. The host and the guest sat opposite each other as if they were watching chess. The boss took out a very large stamp album and attentively provided the guests with a set of 50 stamps of plants and flowers from Switzerland and Hungary. The poor people can only stand outside the shop, look through the window glass, and chat to their heart's content. In this place, which was centered around two private philatelic shops and a Sinan post office counter, a Bao often took Betty round. On this day, Betty was wearing a floral skirt and a blue bow on her head, flying around like a butterfly. A Bao once gave Betty a set of 6 Soviet children's stamps, with Gagarin spaceship theme and children's graffiti themes. But now they have disappeared from Betty's stamp collection, Betty said. I made 6 adjustments and exchanged them for a Colombian beauty ticket and a French queen screen printing ticket. which was quite a deal. Colombian woman, the national beauty of the year 960, with stiletto leather shoes, fishnet stockings, and exposed legs. The other one is Queen Louis XVI, with extraordinary temperament, wearing a long black dress, leaning on the golden throne. It is said that the queen was eventually pushed to the guillotine because of her husband. When the machine rang, his head rolled into the basket, and the bow felt deeply ominous. Betty said, "Be elegant. Even if you die, the queen is still beautiful." Betty likes beauties, princesses, and the Swiss version of butterfly tickets. Relatives sent 3 a new set of stamps for butterflies. A South American Amazon rainforest butterfly, with sapphire blue glittering feather scales, 1 large and a small, and a 3-screen style, which is unforgettable. That day, Betty brought this set of stamps and talked to herself, walking into the great people. The boss is a round fat man who smokes a pipe, Poe sticks it to the glass and reads it. Betty holds up the small blue stamp album, hands it to the boss, and turns to the Amazon rainforest butterfly page. The boss looked at Betty, looked at the stamps, thought for a while, closed the blue stamp album, turned around and took out a large stamp album 50 centimeters square from the shelf behind him, and spread it on the glass counter, which was shorter than the average store, 2 ottomans in front. Betty looked through it quietly. The boss walked outside the counter, moved the stool respectfully, and asked Betty to sit firmly. Every time a page turned, the boss lowered his head and explained to Betty. Poe stood outside the glass showcase, smelling the moist aroma of orchids, and a hot rain fell in front of him. Swarms of colorful butterflies flew brightly from in front of the glass counter, flying over the blue bow on Betty's head. The stamp album itself is like the colorful wings of a butterfly, filled with stars and radiant light. The plant stamps displayed in the display window of Wayman include a set of 38 Hungarian stamps of the Brassicaceae family, which are charming, bright, and lifelike. Plant species stamps are issued in a wide range of varieties. Soviet stamps often include small white birch. Germany, linden tree souvenir. The United States has oak, pine, and Douglas for specialties. The flower theme is even more eye-catching and colorful. Orchids are often sold in Southeast Asia, the Philippines, and Thailand, with average color printing. There are several kinds of jindalai in North Korea, single sheets, sets of 2, with few shapes, thick paper, and color differences. Japan has been 1 flower per month for many years, and there are countless collections. China, the 1960 edition contains a complete set of 18 chrysanthemums, which is a great painting. One day, Beatty said to Abao that private individuals can print stamps. What does Abao want to print? Think about it. Ancient people said that the hosta is cold and the lilacs are the best. Thin, childish green and delicate red, as long as it is a flower, it can be printed on stamps. Betty said, "What?" Abao said, "In old books, flowers are women. For example, Yao Nu is a narcissus, and Enbishi is also a daffodil. Flower, Emperor's daughter, chrysanthemum, Mingfu, double begonia. Girl, magnolia, gyre, hosta, healing sorrow, daylily, reflection, impatience. Wangjiangin is a cassia flower. Snow Tuanwan is a hydrangea." Beatty said that Grandma said ticklish is a crepe myrtle flower, and Liangkao is a rose. "I can't understand the others," Abao said. "What is Wushuangyan?" "Guess it," Betty said. "I can't guess," Abao said. "Peony," Betty said. "I don't like it." "Peony is like a paper flower, dyed pink or purple," Abao said. "What are the beautiful flowers in Shanghai?" Betty said. "I like gardenias," Abao said. "Where is the tree?" Betty said, "Plane tree, right?" Abao said. "A small handful of jasmine bracelets sold on the road. Gardenias. A pair of white orchids with the shape of brush tips can be used to make a set of 3 stamps." Betty said. "Great. There are more." Abao said. "French plane trees make for square couplets, for in spring, summer, autumn, and winter." "Betty," he said. "It doesn't look good." Abao said. "In spring, there is a new leaf. In June, the plane tree sheds its bark. The bark actually has 3 colors, dark and light, and it looks good. In autumn, there is a yellow leaf with a plain tree. It is snowing in winter, and the leaves are no longer visible. The snow accumulates on the branches, and there is a fat sparrow, which is also beautiful. Betty said, I am not happy, but I actually like roses. In May, the 7 sisters on the wall and fence, the single white petal is also beautiful. A bough said, a branch of dense apricot and 5-color rose. In the past, Fuxing Park had white roses, and the 10 sisters were the most famous. Betty said, 7 and 10 have different names, pink and yellow. There are 10 sisters with bright red, purple and double petals. They look good too. You can make a set of them. Bao said that the British stamps have the most of them. All of them are called roses, and they have the most complete varieties, because the British garden is the most famous. Betty said, Longhua peach blossom. You can print the 4-party couplet. In fact, peach blossoms have always been more beautiful than plum blossoms. Bao said that peach blossoms are also called killing hatred. And the name of double-leaf peach blossoms is helping love, which is always a bit stupid, while plum blossoms are refreshing. Betty said, willow branches. I'm making a set of peach blossoms, crabaples, and new banana leaves. Bao said, this is really unexpected. A spring scene. It's okay, Beatty said, loquats, bayberry, plums, yellow peaches, golden melons, green-skinned jade melons. Blooming at night. Basil vegetables can be regarded as a set, Bao said. This is wrong. Even if you open a fruit shop, it won't look like it. Betty said, foreign tickets are okay. A big leaflet, put on a big plate. A Bao smiled. Betty said, there are really a lot of them, all ranged in different styles. A Bao smiled. Betty said, apples, pears, oranges, grapes, cabbage, onions, cucumbers, potatoes, tomatoes, celery, lettuce, garlic, green onions, shiitake mushrooms, carrots, cantaloupe, watermelon, plus ham and hoof, marrow, bacon, trout, pheasants and wild ducks were all piled up, with a tablecloth underneath, and beside them were shotguns, bullet belts, pipes, pipe wires, hunting knives, crumpled Western napkins, silverware, and a few large pieces of bread crusts, olive oil, pepper shakers, several kinds of cheese, cakes, jam, buttercream, Worcestershire sauce, milk jugs, cups, beer, teapots, wine, and next to them, thick curtains. A Bao said, my dear little girl, you have such a good memory. You can't fit into a still life souvenir sheet with a large denomination of francs. You can't put it in an ordinary stamp album. Betty said, the boss of Huawei said that this kind of super aircraft carrier. What if 96? In 1996, we saw that in Shanghai, China, everyone could swallow saliva, suffer from tuberculosis, stomach problems, acute gastritis. 3 nights couldn't swallow it. A Bao felt happy when he saw Betty Bingshu's smart look. At this moment, the summer breeze is cool on the roof. The campers in Fuxing Park are dark green. The plane trees are green and yellow, and the brown and red roof ridges are covered in front of me. I hear the grandmother shouting in the alley, Beatty, 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 A Bao said. Grandma couldn't stop shouting anymore. Let's go down. Betty said that yesterday, my grandma told her father that she wanted to take a trip to the countryside of Shaoxing. She had been in Shanghai for many years, and now she wanted to die. A Bao said, what are you talking about? Go down. Betty said, you know the cypress. It looks like a little red star when it blooms. A Bao said that grandma planted it every year, and the neighbors also had some on their walls. Betty said, when I talked about stamps, my grandma laughed, because vegetable plots are the most famous. Rapeseed flowers are good, and stamps can be produced. The grass heads are golden cauliflower. Make 1, shepherd's purse blooms, and sesame flowers bloom. 1 bean seedling blooms. Mung bean and adzuki bean bloom. 2 sheets, radish bee. A Bao said, stop talking. Beatty said that grandma talked about the 8 water immortals, cress, water bamboo, lotus root, wild rice, water chestnut, red water chestnut, water shield and gorgon. Let's make a set, A Bao said. It's so ignorant. If I keep talking, It will be dark and I won't be able to explain it all. Betty said, citron, honeysuckle, lingxiao, and wisteria, can they be considered a four-party union? Bao said, I have already talked a lot. Don't talk anymore. Betty said, tell it again, tell it. Bao said that it was good, but the first two flowers bloomed early, and the anchovy is an herb and goes better with the morning glory. Betty said, no, I don't like morning glory. It ends when the sun comes out. I don't want it. Bao said that the Japanese call it Chao Yin. And the time is short, however, when the flowers bloom again. They are always with thanks. Betty was silent. Bao said, as the ancient said, where is the fragrant color now? The empty branches face the evening breeze. Betty said, I don't understand. I'm not happy. Bao fell silent. Betty said that the song that Grandma sang was, the radish flowers are blooming and the peonies are blooming. The peony sister is getting married. The pomegranate sister is the matchmaker. The golden sedan is coming. Don't get up. The silver sedan is coming. Don't get up. Get up when the bridal sedan comes. Bao said, I understand. Betty said, there is another one, a 7-year-old girl. Sitting on a low stool, Grandpa riding a horse to be a matchmaker, Dad making a tiara in Hangzhou, my mother embroidering Luo's skirt in the room, embroidering a few flowers, embroidering 3 mandarin duck flowers. Bao said, okay. Betty smiled and said, Bao grows flowers, and I make butterflies. Bao said, yes. Betty said, in fact, I am a butterfly. Bao said, I like trees. Betty said, well, butterflies like flowers, trees, and flying, too. At that time, there were flower and plant vendors in the Flower Temple area on Manufacturing Bureau Road. There are 2 Chenghuang temples in Shanghai, the Old and New, Nanjing West Road, and there are flower shops in Zujihui. On Shaanxi South Road, there are 2 bay glass flower houses on both sides of the current Parkson Road. There are many foreigners in the concession. They only sell cut flowers and are open until now. It ended in 1966. In the year when Betty mentioned the flower tree, the Austin car on Sinan Road had disappeared. One day, my grandfather and Bao took a tricycle to the New Town God's Temple on Hongyan Road and saw a Shaoxing man setting up a flower stall with wild osmanthus. There are 3 trees in total, a few cattail orchids, tiger thorns, thin bamboos, Polygonum multiflorum described by Lucian and other miscellaneous items. Shaoxing people say, you peach or gardenia, Bao does not ring. Shaoxing people say, sleep startled gasped. Bao said, what? Shaoxing people say, it's Ruixiang. Do you want it? Bao shook his head. Shaoxing people say that if you want a nymphal butterfly, it is called Shegan flag in the countryside. It has 6 petals with fine red dots, and a core with yellow whiskers. Each flower has a butterfly. Bao didn't make any sound. Shaoxing people say, marigold. Do you want it? The flower seeds are planted in August and bloom in the 12th lunar month. There are fresh products in the mountains. I want now young flower, grandfather said. Speak slowly. Why are you in a hurry? The Shaoxing man lowered his voice and said, Mr. Da, I need money urgently. So I went into the mountains in the middle of the night and dug up these wild animals. Grandfather is silent. Shaoxing people said that if they encountered patrolling militiamen, they would be hung up and fed on a pole. Bao didn't say anything, but he took a fancy to a sweet-scented osmanthus. The Shaoxing people said to their grandfather, how fresh the mud balls are and how old they are with moss. 2 plants should be removed together. Grandfather is silent. Shaoxing people say that in pairs. Golden osmanthus is meat red. Silver osmanthus is flawless jade. Mr. Da, 1 plant is gold. The other is silver. The house is filled with gold and silver, which brings good luck. Grandfather is silent. Shaoxing people say that in the past, the big houses with big walls and courtyards would always plant a pair of flowers, gold and osmanthus, so that their descendants would enjoy happiness. Grandfather said, now is the time, talk less. People from Shaoxing say that the mansion of President Chiang Kai-shek has a large wall gate in Fenghua and 2 osmanthus plants, 1 gold and 1 silver, in the courtyard, which is very fragrant. Grandfather said, okay. I won't buy it. The Shaoxing people immediately picked up two saplings and put them on the tricycle pedals. The driver said in Subei dialect, "Hey, tell me about Bald Chang and the Chang gang again. Listen to me, if I don't drag you to the Hongyan Road police station, I won't be a human being." Shaoxing people are silent. The coachman said, "I really need to check it out. What is your identity? I think you are either a rich farmer or a landlord." Grandfather smoothed things over. The sweet-scented osmanthus was delivered to Sinan Road. My cousins felt it was fresh and came out to take a look. At this moment, another tricycle came. The uncle stumbled out of the car, his serge tunic suit untied and his hair messy. Grandfather said that he went to the bookstore every day, ate big meals, and drank old wine. And he ate like this. The uncle said, "I just stopped drunk. Bao was digging for gold." The cousins helped the uncle in, and the grandfather followed. Bao went to the garden to dig in the mud and planted a plant. Outside the fence, he saw Betty eating a Kyushi brand cream lollipop and walking slowly with a middle school student. When she saw Bao, she immediately ran over to take a look. The middle school student stood still. Betty said, "Plant orange trees." Bao didn't make any sound. Betty said, "I came in to help." Bao said, "Do not bother me." Betty said she was unhappy when she saw the horse's head. Bao didn't make any sound. Betty said, "Matu, come here." The horse's head came over and approached the fence. Betty said, "This is Bao." Mata said, "Bao." Bao nodded. Betty said, "Unhappy." Bao didn't make any sound. Betty said, "Matu invited me to eat." Mata said, "Yes." Bao said, "Go away." "Okay, go away." Betty looked at Bao and then left with Matu. The two distanced themselves and slowly walked away. The next day, Betty told Bao that yesterday, Sister Xuan invited her classmates to dance, and there were many people. Bao didn't make any sound. Betty said that later, she hit the horse's head. Bao said, "Yes." Betty said that Mata lived in Gaolongqiao, Yangshubu, and was the cousin of Sister Xuan. Bao said that it is against the law to hold a family dance. Betty said, Sister Xuan said, "It doesn't matter. They are all elegant people, different from A Fei from the outer area." Bao said, "What is A Fei from the outer area?" Betty said that Sister Xuan said that most of the Fei on Weihai Road were male and female workers from other districts. Bao didn't make any sound. Betty said, "I don't care. I listened to records." Bao said that he had forgotten what Grandma said. Betty said, "I think Matu is a good person, but his hair is a little higher and his trouser legs are a little thinner." Bao didn't make any sound. Betty said that Matu wanted to take me to Goling Bridge to have a look. The place where Matu lived was all factories, namely the Wild Rice Garden in Yangshupu, near Kunming Road. They often sang road opera, that is, open-air opera, singing Jinghuai. You can watch the drama without buying a ticket. I didn't understand what a Jinghuai drama was and wanted to watch it, but Sister Xuan scolded her and Mata remained silent. Bao smiled. Betty said, later on, Mata took me for a dance and gave me a spring jasmine. Bao said it was planted in No. 3. Betty said, "This is the first time that my boyfriend has given me flowers." Bao smiled and said that at a young age, he only talked about his boyfriend. Betty said, later on, Sister Xuan told me that if I wanted to dance again, I would let the horse head take the lead. Bao didn't make any sound. Betty said that the music was too soft and the room was too stuffy. The records were played one after another and her sister danced again and again. Bao said that the more he danced, the more addicted he became to dancing. In some alleys, neighborhood committees have come to arrest him. Betty said, later on, I told Mata my private secret. Bao didn't make any sound. Betty lowered her voice and said, I told Mata that I want to be a princess. Mata smiled and said that women have grown up and can do everything now. They can be porters, pull tiger carriages, go to slaughterhouses to kill chickens, ducks, and pigs, drive dragon carriages, or fly airplanes. You can drive trains and warships, but you can't be a princess. Let me tell you why. Mata said that unless Baidi's previous generation had royal blood, it would be impossible. Bao smiled. Betty said, horse heads are interesting, right? A Bao said. Yes. Betty said that Mata felt that no matter how hard everyone worked, it was because of their bloodline and basically couldn't change it. 3. Xiao Mao took bus No. 24, got off at the entrance of Yuxiang, crossed Weihai Road, went to the entrance of Weihai Feng diagonally opposite, met He Sheng, passed through the back alley, and walked into Nanchang apartment. When I was in elementary school, He Sheng liked to play with the elevator every time he passed by this old apartment, pressing the bell repeatedly. When the elevator came down, everyone fled. The woman who drove the elevator rushed to the door of the apartment and cursed you. You damn girl. Everyone hid on Nanchang Road and kept silent. They waited for the elevator to go up and then pressed the bell. They had to let the elevator go up and down several times before they were satisfied and laughed. At this moment, the elevator lady looked at Xiao Mao. He Sheng said, I'm looking for Shuhua. The female worker said to Xiao Mao, Hello. Xiao Mao said, Shuhua. The female worker pulled the iron grill and pulled the iron handle. The elevator was an iron cage, buzzing upwards. There was a barbed wire fence outside and stairs surrounding it. When she got to the 3rd floor, she opened the iron gate. Shuhua stood at the door of the room with a cold expression. The 2 people walked into the room, which had a waxed floor, a few simple furniture, a desk, a few bamboo chairs, a farm bench, a bench, and not a book in sight. Shuhua's room is also simple, with a wooden bed on a bench and a small bookshelf imitating mottled bamboo. There is only one book on the table, He Sheng said. This is my friend Xiao Mao. Shuhua is silent. Xiao Mao took out an exercise book and placed it on the table in front of Shuhua. There was wind outside the window, and when a page opened, Shuhua only glanced at it. He Sheng said that Xiao Mao came specially to see his sister. Shuhua is silent, the room is small, and the sound from Nanchang Road can be heard. The book is rather worn, and the cover has an illustration of the executioner Sui Zhang on it. Shuhua didn't look at it at all. The wind blew the illustrations, turning them over and over again. Xiao Mao was a little embarrassed and looked at He Sheng. On the road, the wheels rolled over the gutter cover, making a clicking sound. He Sheng picked up the book and said, Xiao Mao copied it. Shuhua said, Yes. Xiao Mao said, Let me read the poem written by my sister. Shuhua said, He Sheng, why are you talking nonsense outside? I don't write poetry. The little fur doesn't make a sound. He Sheng was a little surprised. Xiao Mao said to himself, It's just casual, personal freedom. I don't care whether I see it or not. Shuhua is silent. Xiao Mao picked up the paper foreskin on his knee, put it on the table and said, If sister likes it, she can stay. Xiao Mao stood up and was ready to leave. Shuhua was expressionless. He opened the old newspaper and saw an old and tattered book on it, which was Modern Shishao compiled by Wen Yizhuo. Shuhua's face turned red. At this time, He Sheng also stood up and prepared to leave. Shuhua said, Sit down for a while. The little fur doesn't make a sound. Shuhua turned to Mudan's poem. In traditional Chinese, quietly, we hugged each other. The world that words can illuminate. And that informed darkness is scary. That fascinates us with the possible and the impossible. That suffocates us. It is the sweet words of death before birth. Its shroud of darkness allows us to drift away and swim into the freedom and beauty of chaotic love. Xiao Mao said, This is equivalent to foreign poetry. Shuhua said softly that the Luwan District Library couldn't see it either, as it never printed it. He Sheng said, Where did you get it? Xiao Mao said that there was a lot of rubbish at the Macau Road scrap packaging station, old books and newspapers. Shuhua remained silent and her eyes softened. Xiao Mao said, I took it casually. Shuhua smiled and said, You are still casual? You must understand people. He Sheng said, Right? Shuhua flipped through it and found another one, also from the Republic of China edition, numbered 43. Rameudan's collection of harmonies. When he touched it with his hand, the cover slipped off and he saw the illustration. The translation was, Under the light of the church pillars, the girl was peaceful after death, and lilies were blooming beside the coffin. Shuhua immediately held the book to her chest and realized if you feel exaggerated, calmly put it back. There was a popcorn sound on Nanchang Road, and there was a bang. Xu Hua opened Xiao Mao's handbook and copied the names of weapons in front of it, including meteor hammers, emi thorns, 8 treasure sleeve arrows, etc., including boxing routines, followed by the word card in traditional Chinese. The real estate frost sky dawn corner, cutting snow and cutting ice. Some people think it is too clear, some people think it is too thin. Neither. I am a close friend. Who is my close friend? The surname is Lin from Gushan. Easy after bidding farewell to the West Lake. You have let me down. Until now, the flowers are silent. In addition, there is Wu Dayu's pink lips and the flag pavilion on the river. When I see you off, you will meet in your court. The wine airs will cross the river. The sand gulls on the snow wall will be dusk. The desert will be rustling. The rain of fragrant pear blossoms adds to the melancholy. The arm is broken and the frame is broken. The cold wave goes away. The traditional version of the poem is wrong. Xu Hua raised her face, looked carefully at Xiao Mao and said, "Why did you copy this poem?" Xiao Mao said, "It looks good." Xu Hua said, "What?" Xiao Mao said, "Boat wars are well written." Xu Hua said, "What?" Xiao Mao said, "Beside the Suzhou River, I often see people rowing oars. The weather is cold, and the river is quiet during lunch." Xu Hua said, "I have never been there." Passed by, Hu Sheng said, "There was scenery." Xiao Mao said, "The straw boat went downstream to Sangguanteng, and the green leather sugarcane boat went upstream to the pier of Townhu Temple Wholesale Station. It was lonely, and one boat came over, one oar, and one person rowed the boat. Big, 2 oars, a couple, with their hearts and hands together, rocking all the way. Only the sound of one oar can be heard." Xu Hua said, "The meaning of the words is simple. The words are short and dense. They are nothing more than a bit of resentment between friends, full of lovesickness." "I'm very happy about these 2 poems," Xiao Mao said. "My sister must have read the wall inscriptions by ancient heroes." Xu Hua said, "Really?" Xiao Mao said, "The Song dynasty was much better than now." Xu Hua lowered her voice and said kindly, "Xiao Mao is a middle school student. Okay, don't talk nonsense outside. It's going to cause problems, really." The 2 of them sat there for about an hour, then left the apartment and headed north past the Cathay Cinema. Xiao Mao said, "Xu Hua is weird." He Sheng laughed and said, "This person is also cold to his parents." Xiao Mao said, "Not biologically." Hu Sheng said that his parents are district trade union cadres and are quite busy. The little fur doesn't make a sound. He Sheng said, "If I only read old books and copy old poems, my father would be angry and insist that I read new books and movies." Xiao Mao said, "It's a revolutionary family." He Sheng said that Xu Hua would probably write a letter to thank Xiao Mao. Xiao Mao said, "It doesn't matter. I just stole it casually." He Sheng said that if there was a letter, Xiao Mao would reply and advise Xu Hua to read less old and foreign books. "My father said that things are much better now. The situation is good and life is good." Xiao Mao said, "This is difficult, judging from Xu Hua's appearance. She won't listen." Hu Sheng said, "I mean well." Xiao Mao laughed and said that if Xu Hua sends a postcard again, the barber will definitely receive it first. Hu Sheng said that last time it was a landscape card, but usually only old gentlemen write postcards. The little fur doesn't make a sound. The 2 walked to Weihai Road. He Sheng said, "Either accompany me to the Yifeng aircraft model shop." Xiao Mao agreed. The 2 of them passed through Dezhongli, not far from Nanjing West Road. And across the road was Yifeng, a 2-bay shop with many customers. At the counter, there were everything from simple rubber band aircraft, torpedo boats to destroyer blueprints. A variety of materials, including high-end model aircraft gasoline engines, are magnificent. The boat models of the 1960s are all made by hand. The store also sells various miniature woodworking and metalworking equipment, including miniature desktop vases. Xiao Mao opened his eyes and pointed to a model of a 9,000-ton ocean liner and said, "My neighbor Yinfeng's husband, Hyde, is a sailor on this kind of ship." He Sheng said that there are blueprints of the cruiser here, and they are detailed and exquisite. Xiao Mao looked at the display window. He Sheng said, "My dad said that the original World Treaty limited the number of deck guns. For example, the Pensacola-class cruiser had 10 203mm main guns, which were designed to the extreme. Xiao Mao doesn't understand. He Sheng said that the Americans are equipped with aircraft catapults and water reconnaissance aircraft, and are preparing to fight against the Japanese Furutaka-class heavy cruisers. They have armored defenses that are as deep as 5 feet below the waterline, and fortunately, the ammunition compartment lacks defenses. There are blueprints for sale here, which can be done. Xiao Mao said, I don't understand at all. The student from Shanghai said, after entering middle school, I joined the aircraft model team and was expelled within 1 month. Xiao Mao said, why? He Sheng said that since one of the monoplanes was missing, the teacher thought I had stolen it, so I had no choice but to leave. Xiao Mao said, I stole it. He Sheng bought a bottle of glue and 3 pieces of No-Zero sandpaper, and the 2 of them came out. A crowd gathered outside the store, and a middle-aged man said, German cruiser, Sarnhorst, you know? A middle school student said, I don't understand. The middle-aged man said that the armor was watertight, and the first hit was the furthest. The British glory was no match for it. The middle school student said that it was just average. The Bismarck cruiser was famous, but the Sarnhorst was in a terrible state. All the ships and islands were bombarded, so they had no choice but to sink. Middle-aged people say that fighting for 2-1 is not a hero. Fighting for 3 hours, no idea. The Duke of York is full of Sarnhorst shells. The middle school student said, lastly, the 533mm torpedo launcher is equivalent to being bare-chested. It has a protective deck. It should be blown up. At this point, the picket said, get out of the way, watch your wallet, and talk less. He Sheng pulled Xiao Mao forward. He Sheng said that among the 2 people, one was an old egg from the alley on Jiangyan Road next door, and the other had won the city's middle school students' model airplane competition, so he was obviously a little egg. Xiao Mao said, the talk was lively. He Sheng said, according to my brother, the cruiser Sarnhorst was well-armed and sunk by the British, but its bow design was too heavy. As soon as the ship sailed, the bow flooded, and the Anton turret flooded. It is indeed necessary to change the most famous Atlantic bow, but we can't escape quickly and are surrounded by the British. What can we do? Xiao Mao said. Follow the method my master said. Keep an eye on a boat and fight with all your strength. He Sheng said that cruisers are not meat fists, and Chinese martial arts are basically lies. Xiao Mao doesn't make any sound. The 2 walked to Shanghai Cinema. He Sheng bought 2 popsicles, and the 2 sat on the steps. He Sheng said, I'm not happy. I must have said something wrong. Xiao Mao said, it doesn't matter. The 2 turned around and passed Fenjiang Road to the door of Lat apartment on Shimen Road. He Sheng said, come and sit in my room. Xiao Mao said, it's time for dinner. I'm going back. He Sheng said, go up and have a look. The 2 took the elevator to the 4th floor. It was a dormitory for senior staff of British businessmen. It was wider than a Nanchang apartment, with 3 rooms on 1 staircase, steel windows and wax floors, and an independent bathroom. He Sheng opened the door and let Xiao Mao in. Facing east was a large mosaic-covered kitchen. On the center table, there was a round cake with whipped cream. Xiao Mao was stunned. At this moment, several people came out of the west room and smiled at He Sheng and Xiao Mao. He Sheng said, today is Xiao Mao's birthday. Xiao Mao, these are my friends Bao, Betty, and my parents. 2 middle-aged men and women in Air Force uniforms came over with smiles and spoke in northern dialect with a Shanghai accent. Xiao Mao, happy birthday. May you make good progress in your studies. Xiao Mao was at a loss for a moment, but when he looked again, he saw a familiar sister in the West Hall, standing up with a smile. She turned out to be Xu Hua. In Shanghai in the 1960s, not many families valued birthdays. He Sheng's parents graduated from the military academy and went to work in the Air Force. They were born in the same year, the same month, and the same day. Their first date coincided with their birthdays, so they took birthdays seriously. He Sheng and his brother Human are a family of 4 and celebrate 3 birthdays every year. Last time, He Sheng went to the Suzhou River to eat and chat, and remembered Xiao Mao's birthday. It had been a few years since he moved to Shimen Road. He planned to invite Xu Hua to sit down and surprise Xiao Mao. His parents were very supportive, so Hu Sheng made an appointment with Abo and Beatty, but Xu Hua was the only one who hesitated, so Hu Sheng took Xiao Mao to see Xu Hua first. Hu Sheng said that it was up to the family to decide whether Xu Hua would come or not. Unexpectedly, Xu Hua came anyway. Hu Sheng's parents were happy to see their original little neighbor. Hu Sheng's father spoke a northern dialect with a Shanghai accent. October 1st is the mother's birthday, and we need to celebrate it. You must come and watch the fireworks on the balcony. Everyone nodded, only Xiao Mao was in a daze. Unable to think of his birthday, everyone was waiting for Xiao Mao to cut the cake, and Beatty said, "Brother Xiao Mao makes a wish." Xiao Mao couldn't think of a wish, so he said happy birthday to everyone. Betty's eyes sparkled. She looked at the cake and said, "It would be great if it were the colorful candles, gold and silver candles in the postcard." Bao said that the cigarette paper shop only sells white candles, while the Hong Temple on Nanjing Road sells red candles. Xiao Mao said that the incense and candle shop has the smallest candle, called Three Worships. Hu Sheng said, "What do you mean?" Xiao Mao said that as long as he bowed 3 times, the candle fire would be over. Betty said, "Ah." Xiao Mao said that the slightly bigger ones are big 4, the bigger ones are midnight light, which weighs 12 taels, and can be lit until midnight. And Jin Tongju, which weighs 1 kilogram, is all night long. Weighing 2 kilograms, the big candle is called Fighting Light. Betty waved her hand and said, "Stop talking about it. Chinese candles are the most annoying." Everyone ate the cake, and Hu Sheng's parents attended a party and left first. The cooking aunt put some simple side dishes on the table and everyone sat down to eat. Xiao Mao said, "I was frightened when I entered the door. Now that I think about it, I can really worship Jinlan." Hu Sheng said, "What?" Xiao Mao said, "Betty likes Hong Kong colored candles, and I like the ancient style." She lit 3 sticks of incense, and everyone changed their Zheng Tai, becoming brothers and sisters with different surnames. The cooking aunt said that if the Tao Yuan 3 were sworn brothers, who would Xiao Mao be? Liu Bei would still be the public relations master. Xiao Mao said, "I only know that in the past, workers joined the most gangs, had the most sworn brothers and sisters, were from the same hometown and gangs, and were the most loyal." Bao said that Zhu Jiang and Zhang Wen were sworn brothers. Hu Sheng said that friendships were formed between generations. Dong Zhuo and Lu Bu, and Yang Gaifai, they formed friendships within Lushan. Xu Hua said, "Xiao Mao is sincere and it's a shame that everyone is making such a joke." Xiao Mao said that if he didn't write the Jinlin book, he would still be a sworn brother and a sworn sister. Hu Sheng burst into laughter. Xu Hua said, "Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer are true sworn brothers." Xiao Mao said that he did not wish to be born in the same year, the same month, and the same day, but he wished to die in the same year, the same month, and the same day. Speaking of which, of course it was impossible. Everyone laughed. Xiao Mao said that in ancient times, before a war, everyone sharpened their swords and began to change their posts, preparing to die together. Betty said, "I like palace stories and palace dances." Xiao Mao said that when we become sworn friends, we share the hardships and share the blessings. Bao said, "My father told me, this is impossible. There are only the best friends in life, and things often go wrong. Even best friends end up going their separate ways because the situation is too complicated." Hu Sheng said that class sentiment is like blood being thicker than water. In my father's army, his comrades are the most united. Bao said, "What is there to say about a revolutionary military family?" Hu Sheng is silent. Xu Hua changed the subject and said, "Where is brother human?" The cooking aunt said that she was hospitalized after returning from leave from the army. There is no sound in Shanghai. After we had dinner, we went to the balcony with Po and looked out. To the east was the International Hotel, and to the southeast we saw the Jinbeige Pagoda of the Big World. Xiao Mao helped clear the table. The cooking aunt whispered that the people in Shanghai were not sick but deserters. Dad got angry and criticized him several times. The little fur doesn't make a sound. Everyone gathered in the hall. There were a row of bookcases against the wall. Most of them were political books. such as the complete works of Stalin in Grey Cloth and the complete works of Stalin in Coffee. The other small bookcase was more miscellaneous, including information on aviation technology, shipyards, and warships, military port terminals, water lines, various items of ocean currents and weather, many in Russian. There are also a small number of literature and art books. On the top of the cabinet is a model of a P for torpedo boat, Hu Sheng said. This is what Shanghai people did before. Xiao Mao came closer to take a look. Hu Sheng said that the P-4 is the main force of the Chinese Navy and is a Soviet-made speedboat. Unfortunately, it is not equipped with a radar. It relies on land radar to transmit commands, and it is easy to lose its target. Bao said, military secret. Hu Sheng said that 36 ships were imported from the Soviet Union. The 4,000-ton Taisheng transport ship in Taiwan that was sunk in 1958 is said to be this kind of boat. There is also a wooden torpedo speedboat, Xiao Mao said. The barges that transport cotton in the Suzhou River are also made of iron sheets. Hu Sheng he said that all of them were placed in Guangzhou, manufactured by Wu Shipyard, and Soviet patented Type 02. Bao was not very interested and walked away. Hu Sheng took Xiao Mao to another room. In the corner of the inner balcony, there was a pile of People's Daily. A red flag, on the small stand, is the keel of a battleship model. Hu Sheng said that this is the battleship Royal Oak made by Shanghai people. Before joining the army, he had half of it. Xiao Mao said that Hu Sheng was an expert. Hu Sheng said, I don't really understand. The teachers in my aircraft model class were all masters of the Jiangnan shipyard in the past 2 generations. Xiao Mao touched the keel. Hu Sheng said that the speed of the King class series was relatively poor. This ship finally made the German U-47. The submarine was hit by 3 torpedoes, killing 800 people. Xiao Mao said that he was already defeated. So why did he do it? Hu Sheng said that there is a type of people who like to make shipwreck series, including the people of Shanghai. Xiao Mao is silent. Hu Sheng he said softly, the people of Shanghai are in bad luck. Recently, his relationship with a female soldier failed. She pretended to be ill and returned to Shanghai. My father was so angry that he stretched out his hand and slapped her twice. Xiao Mao didn't speak. Shanghai Haisheng pointed to the middle bridge and said, if Xiao Mao has if you are interested, come here often. The little fur doesn't make any noise. The two returned to the living room. Betty listens to children's programs. Xu Hua leaned against the bookcase and flipped through the books. Xiao Mao walked over and saw several Soviet novels. Ji Min 2, 3 Dong men in gray coats, and the awesome female teacher withered in the morning at the Drac building station. Xu Hua turned to a book, Shashi written by Aoyuziba Sufu. Xiao Mao came closer. Xu Hua immediately took a step back and said, go away, Xiao Mao said. Decadent. What does it mean? Xu Hua's cheeks turned red and she said, go away. What do children know? Xiao Mao said. I know everything. Xu Hua said. This book is quite special, but Xiao Mao is too young, so I won't talk about it anymore. Xiao Mao said. What is the main topic? Xu Hua thought for a while and then said. Yes, Xiao Mao said. Hesitantly, let me take a look. Xu Hua Bijuan said. Yes, in 905, this person wrote sexual desire comes first, which means, you know, Xiao Mao said. What is sexual desire? Xu Hua said seriously that there are people who are dissatisfied with politics and constitutional government. According to this person, it is because of physical dissatisfaction. Xiao Mao said, body, what do you mean? Xu Hua couldn't continue talking, so she turned around impatiently and said, let's talk about it later. I'll talk about it later. Xiao Mao was bored, squatted down, and unintentionally pulled out a Chinese translation of Shu's Kazi from the bottom of the bookcase. Opening the first page, there was a whole picture of female organs, an analysis diagram of a copper plate, a peach-shaped front, and every hair. Meticulous and detailed, densely packed with annotations. There was a crackling sound, and a large copy of Chinese-Russian dictionary from Shang Nianshiguan fell down at his feet. Xiao Mao was startled. Xu Hua said softly, Xiao Mao, don't look at it. Please arrange it quickly and listen.
All right, this part of the story ends here. Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.